Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about my most used eyeshadow palettes as of currently. There was recently a huge drop in eyeshadow palettes, meaning one was dropping every single day basically, and I'm not sure that really has stopped, but it has slowed down just a little bit, just a little bit. So I thought that I would kind of go through and show you guys the ones that I am grabbing for the most. There's been so many that I really love. There's a lot of colorful ones that I love, but I want to show you guys the ones that I have been reaching for the most, what I've been gravitating towards, and what I've been using on the daily, even if I'm not filming. What am I reaching for as of this moment right now? Now, I want to just reiterate that I'm not saying that these are my favorite eyeshadow palettes of all time. It's just what I'm reaching for right this second. I would say most of these are newer palettes, but there are a couple in here that have been in my collection for a while. These are not going to be in any particular order. I'm just going to grab and talk about them. The first one I want to talk about is from Too Faced. I recently talked about this palette in my purchase or pass. I was talking about the Violet Voss palette. I don't remember the name of the Violet Voss palette, which is ironic because I couldn't remember the name of this palette when I was talking about the Violet Voss palette. And I had said that the Violet Voss palette did not really scream to me because it was kind of like the outdated warms, you know, like it's last year's warm palette. Whereas this guy right here is what I feel like I am gravitating more towards when it comes to warm tones. And this is the Hot Buttered Rum Palette. I picked this up whenever I grabbed the Extra Spicy palette, and I've been using this one more than the Extra Spicy. I just love this little thing. The biggest reason why I love it so much is because of the nice mixture of a neutral cool with the warm. I love warm palettes with that hint of coolness or neutralness to it. This shade right here really changes up the look that you can get with the palette. So if you can see, it's a nice neutral, slightly cool tone, like grayish brown. It's so beautiful in this palette. I love this. The quality is really nice. I like the size of this palette. I think that this is great for people that, you know, do not want those palettes that have 30 shades in them because it's a little overwhelming. This, you can kind of look at it and see, all right, well, I'm going to stick over here and maybe add in the dark brown if I want a more natural look. And then you can kind of spice it up with this reddish or yellow tone. And then these metallics are really pretty. I think that they really did a great job both with the Extra Spicy palette and this one. But this one is the one I have been grabbing for the most, and it smells really good. It smells really nice. Next up, we have another new one, and this is one that is shocking to me because I didn't think that I was going to enjoy it as much as I am. I have been grabbing for this and grabbing for this and grabbing for this. I took this with me recently when I went out of town, and it's the Mercury Retrograde palette from Huda Beauty. I want to reiterate with this, if you have a lot of her palettes already, you don't necessarily need this one, but I really like it. I love all the tones in here. This is a palette that pretty much has everything in it. It leans a little bit more cool. It's very icy, and I love every single look that I have done with it, and I have not run out of inspiration with it. I think it is beautiful. I especially love this shade right here. I think it's Nebula. I don't know why I said Lunar. Nebula, I love this shade. I love everything in here. There are definitely some in here that are in other Huda Beauty palettes. That's why I say if you have a bunch of them and you're really just looking for the nude shades in here or the pinky tones, you probably don't need this. But if you want these shades right here and you're going to use them, I definitely would suggest it. I also spoke about the marbled shades being better in the new Nude palette. So if you're looking for those marbled shades with a really beautiful effect on the eyes, this one does work out. It does. You have to build it up, but it's not quite as intense as the new Nude. So if you're looking for color, go with this one. I'm very happy with this. If you're looking for something more along the lines of just the nudes, I would say go with the new Nude palette, but this has been everything for me. I absolutely love it. Not a new palette, but this should not come as a shock to any of you. If you know me, you know how much I love the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk palette. This is the pink version for me of Tom Ford's Coco Mirage, which is one of my all-time favorites. It's always in my top drawer. Literally, it's right here, right there, top drawer, and so is this one. I love the pinky tones. I've really been enjoying them. Neutrals, pink, cool tones. I really love them, and I really like mixing them in with warm tones. But this palette right here is just, it is special to me. I love it so much. This is something that I will definitely repurchase whenever I go through it. I am already getting quite a divot in these two shades right here. I don't think you can see it on camera, but I am about to have a hole at least in this bottom one. I love this shade right here and this shade. People have asked me for dupes for these. I know that they look very dupeable, and there's definitely shades that are kind of similar, but I have not been able to get a pinpoint exact match for this. I hate that, but I just don't. I would show it to you if I could, but I can't. The closest thing to this palette, which, you know, this was supposed to be limited edition and now it's permanent. We all know how that goes, but if you're looking for something that is not Charlotte Tilbury, if you don't like her shadows, this palette right here, again, I've just been grabbing for it. It has the tones in there that I like, the neutral and a pinky kind of tone. So this right here is kind of similar to what the Charlotte Tilbury is, but not quite as pink. So if you don't want something that is as pink as the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk, but you want neutrals, this is it right here. And this is the Myth palette from Hourglass. I also have the Vista palette, which I absolutely love, but this one right here, all mattes, all neutral, cool. It's just absolute utter perfection. And I've been grabbing for this one a lot. I've gone back and forth with it, but it's been a palette in my collection that I have consistently grabbed for, but it's one that currently right now I'm grabbing for a lot. Next up is a new one that I have been raving about. In fact, when my last video, the Sonia G Sky eye set, I almost said face set again, I used this to show the brushes in action, and this is from SURRAT Beauty, the Beyond Beige Petite palette. Oh my goodness, the texture is so beautiful. If you are looking for something that is not matte, but that has a little bit of a sheen to it without accentuating any fine lines, it's not gonna make your eyes look crepey, anything like that, this is it. And I'm just gonna do, I've already shown swatches of Coco Mirage up against this one. I don't remember the video. I don't remember. I feel like it was probably in my favorites because I spoke about this palette in my favorites. But I want to show you side by side. I think it's in my favorites already. I just don't remember. If I still have them on my phone, I will insert them now so you can see the difference between them. This one is majority matte, the Coco Mirage, with the exception of this shade right here. Has a slight little sparkle to it that really looks matte on the eyes anyway. All of these have a sheen to them, and it's just absolutely beautiful. It is cool, but has a little bit of warmth to it. This shade right here, when it goes on my eyes, it looks almost like a terracotta shade. Absolutely beautiful. Quality is amazing. I will definitely be picking up more SURRAT eyeshadow singles or palettes just because of the quality of this one. I am now a believer in SURRAT eyeshadows. Love it. Going back to Huda Beauty, she recently released mini nude obsession palettes. I like all three. I really do. The lightest one is the one I would say you have to put a little bit more effort into, but it's still beautiful. And the other two, the medium and the deep, oh my gosh. She has done something with the formula. The formula in these are better than the ones previous to them. So the other Obsession palettes, these are better. Oh, and I am so grateful for that. There's definitely some hits. I love the smoky one. I love the mauve one. Those are really great, but just something different about these. I love the packaging. I love like this faux leather and kind of crocodile type of look on here. And then you have a mirror on the inside and these shades. Pink, can't get the top to stay up. The pink and warmth in here is just beautiful. This is a little bit deeper on my eye, so I grab for this when I want a natural look, or natural colors, because again, this is pretty deep on me. but I want it to be more smoky. So I'm going to grab for Pillow Talk. I'm going to grab for Myth whenever I want something lighter, more airy. This is definitely a little bit more dramatic. There's just something about it. I love these colors and I love the mixture of them. I think that this is just such a well-made palette. If you haven't checked out these, especially the medium and the deep, I think it's deep. Deep, I don't remember. I just know it's the darkest one. The middle and the darkest are the two best, with the medium being my personal favorite. Now let's talk about what is on my eyes right now. My number one Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette. And I think it's my most used of all time as well. I go in on this palette. This is the Metropolis palette. Again, this is what I have on my eyes today. I love this. I just cannot get enough. Do you see how destroyed this is? And it's not just because of swatches. I use this all the time. I cannot put this thing down. I today have on this shade right here. This is one of those creamy formulas. It feels, I always compare it to a marker. If you look at it, it looks like it's kind of wet. This texture is throughout the palette. There's quite a few of them. I live for it because it blends out really nicely. She tried this formula in the Cranberry palette, the original mini, and it just, it didn't work out as well, but she perfected it with this palette. I have this shade on right here first all over, and then I deepened it up with this shade, and then I went in with this for the very outer corner. On the lid, I have this shade, and then on the front portion, I have this shade right here. And then I just took my bronzer and went right down below. For the brow arch, I am wearing this shade right here. This is obviously a warm tone palette, but it is like the epitome of a perfect warm tone palette. You have so many options in here. You have your reds, your oranges like you normally would, but they're updated versions of them. They're not too bright. They're kind of rustic, which I love. I love the golds in here, and there's nothing in it that's repeating. It can kind of look like some of these shades are the same, but the different textures and the way they look on your eyes are very different. I love the greens in here. I love the blue. I love this palette. It could go on and on and on. I won't, but I'm letting you know that I'm still grabbing for this, and it's still my number one Natasha Denona palette. I'm going to stick with Natasha Denona for a second and talk about the all neutral. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. This is the Biba palette. This was my number one in my top drawer for the longest time until the Metropolis palette happened, and it kind of bumped this one out. So I actually have to go get this one out of my set right here and pull it out to use it. But you know, there's just not enough room in my top drawer. This one is what I like to use when I want a few more matte shades, and also when I want something that's going to be a little bit more cool. I'll tell you the shades that I use the most in here are Tusk, Shine, Tone, Monroe, Tar, I'm sorry, there's something on it because I've used it. Sculpture, Seed, I love those. And I like, again, the rusticness of this. And again, warm and cool mixed together, especially like this, or even more so if it's a coral with a cool tone. I live for it. This is such a great palette. It has a nice mixture in here, and I think most people will get a lot of use out of this palette. I can see where the Metropolis palette would be a little bit more intimidating, especially because all the different textures in there, whereas this one is basically your standard. You've got your metallics and you've got your mattes in here, and there's nothing that's going to be any kind of fuss. Whereas the other one, if you're not used to those creamy shadows, even though they blend out really well, it can be kind of a little bit intimidating, whereas I feel like this is just like one done, easy to go palette. Next up, Carli Bybel. I love this. And again, I think it's those icy tones. I'm really feeling them. This is Carli Bybel, Anastasia Beverly Hills collaboration. Coral. Cool. Loving it. I have talked about this one several times, and this is in my top drawer. I have been grabbing for it so much. I've done so many different looks with it. I just think that this is a very well-rounded palette. If you are into cool tones, or maybe you just want to dabble in them just a little bit, but you don't want a full-on cool tone palette, this is a good one to get because you've got your mixture in there. You've got everything to keep you comfortable, and then a few things that might be a little out of your comfort zone. But these are stunning. This top row right here is just, it's everything. It's absolutely everything. And I love throwing in Cindy in with these cool tones just to make it kind of pop and stand out. Just a beautiful palette overall. Last but certainly not least, I have two palettes from Pat McGrath, and I'm going to just talk about them together. I feel really bad about even talking about this because this was a hot mess. This release was a hot mess. I am so lucky that I got my hands on it. I did buy it from Selfridges, and I paid $30 for shipping, and then it ended up coming on her site, and I believe it sold out in 10 seconds. I don't know, and I don't know if there will be a restock. I have no idea what's going on with this palette or any future news of this palette, and I feel terrible, but I have to just telling you guys what I've been using. So in case it does come back, or in case it does come to Sephora, you guys will know how much I love it, and I've still been using it and using it and using it. So this one is the Divine Rose. It's the Mothership 7, I believe. It doesn't say on mine. Actually, it just says Mothership Divine Rose, but then I believe I saw on her website that it was labeled as the number 7. I don't know. I don't know. I'm so confused. And then the Ritualistic Rose. I've kind of been combining these two. That's why I want to talk about them together. And this one's not free of a scandal either because I had so many messages after my Sephora recommendations that this palette was taken off of the Sephora website during the sale. Let me see if it is there now. Just do it real quick. All right, I'm scrolling through and I'm not even seeing any of the minis on there. The Blitz Astral palettes, I'm not seeing a single one. None of them are on there. All right, let me go to the Pat McGrath website. Ritualistic Rose is on the Pat McGrath website as well as the other two. And then let me see. I'm looking for Divine Rose. Okay, so Divine Rose is right here. It's $125. I paid $120 at Selfridges and then $30 shipping. It's $125 and it says sold out. I don't know if that's going to come back in. Let me do. Actually, there is something here. It says Miss the Bouquet Mothership 7 Divine Rose. Get on the list. So if you're waiting for this, go to the Pat McGrath website and click on the palette. Sign up. Hopefully there will be a restock for you. Now I don't feel as bad. I still feel bad, but I still feel kind of bad. Anyway, this is the Divine Rose palette. She's beautiful. She is beautiful. The one thing I don't like is the repeat of shades in here. I feel like it's too soon, especially with this shade right here. This is the same exact shade that is in the Midnight Sun palette. I feel like for the price, $125, there should not be repeat shades, especially not even just like the whole, well, this one's similar to this one, whatever. I do not want to have exact repeat shades when I'm paying $125 per palette. That's just me. That is a complaint of mine, but I am using this palette so much. I adore the shade right here. The mauve and purple and gray to it is just, it gets me. This is special. I cannot with this. Can you see the shift? There's pink, there is gold, there's kind of a peachiness to it. It's just, it's so pretty. It is so pretty, and paired with these cooler tones is absolutely lovely. I love this palette. It's definitely climbing up the list with my Pat McGrath ranking. I don't know where it's at yet, but it's one of my most used, so it has to be up there a little higher. I originally put it right above the last two in my ranking video. Check that out, but I feel like it should probably go up a little bit higher just because I am using it so much. And I love this in conjunction with this palette right here, which is the Ritualistic Rose. This one, this color right here, oh, if you pair this with the last shade I just showed you, it is stunning, you guys. Oh my goodness. Take that other one, put it all over the eye, go up into the crease, use whatever transition shade you want to, bring it down, and then pop a little bit of this either on the inner corner or layer it over top, and be prepared to be absolutely in love. And then I did that, and I used this shade right here as my liner, like a winged liner. And it's just, it was perfection, absolute perfection. So I really love both of those palettes. I use this more with the other one though. I don't like to use this one as much alone. I've been pairing it with the Divine Rose. All right, you guys, that is it for the palettes that I have been currently reaching for the most as of recently. Let me know down below, what are your favorites? What's a palette that you've been reaching for a ton? I love hearing back from you guys down in the comment section. And until next time, I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.